us. I'm here with our esteemed guest today, Mr. Mike Simonsen, the official data geek of Altos. How you doing,
Hi,
Mike?
everyone.
Well, good. I'm glad that, Mike, I appreciate you coming on board with us today. And, I'll do this like the way that I always kind of do, which is basically tell us a little bit about yourself. How did Altos come around and why did you become a data geek?
Sure. Altos is now 11 years old.
Nice.
Almost 12. And I started the company, I've always been a data software guy. And always done, written software to process big amounts of data and make it meaningful to people. I did that in networking software, and I did it in other software in the 90s. And I lived in Silicon Valley, and in 2001, 2 bubbles ago, I bought a little old overpriced house in Silicon Valley, and I needed to understand what was happening. So there was a NASDAQ, the tech bubble, the first internet bubble was bursting around us, and we needed to track. And I started building models from the information about what was happening in my local market.
Okay.
I was tracking the properties. I was watching list prices and changes in list prices. I'm watching the difference in the high end of the market versus the low end. And I built that data for my own use for several years. In about 2005, I realized that we really had more information than I could get anywhere in the world.
Right.
And, always the best real estate agents, they know that kind of thing about the market. They know it in their bones intuitively.
Yeah.
And the really rare ones can communicate that. They can, if you have a different opinion, they can also tell you.
Right.
So what we decided to do was turn just this data into products that people could use, that realtors could use to communicate, to work with their clients, to reach new people. And so that was 2006, 2007.
Right.
And, so we're still going strong.
Nice. Well, as you said, that ability for an agent to communicate, like, how's the market? I mean, I would venture to say that's probably one of the #1 questions. If you're a real estate agent and you're sitting at a restaurant and you're talking with friends, or you're in some kind of social event and you mentioned that you're, a realtor, they're always going to ask you, like, how's the market? And being able
to— you're a realtor, how's the market?
Exactly.
Yeah. And, it's funny. I've given a talk on these lines for many years, and I can ask an audience full of realtors, how's the market? And 100% of the time they go, it's great.
Right.
We're conditioned to give this real positive response.
Right.
What's interesting is that it's an opportunity for talking in data. And instead of saying it's great, when somebody asks you how's the market, you can say, what's interesting is that inventory is super tight.
Right.
We know that prices are up 6% over last year at this time.
Right.
There's only 24 houses on the market. Are you buying or selling? Right. So rather than just going, hey, look, I'm a cheerleader, it's great.
Right.
You get to respond with, I'm an expert.
Right.
And so that's what the data is about.
It's this idea of becoming basically a consultant and coming across as a real level of professional based on the way that you're communicating that information about the market, whether it's good or bad, but it's basically sharing the real truths in terms of what's happening. Because even if the market is soft, it's good for someone. And if it's really good, then it's good for the other person, right? Because depending on what side of the fence you're on.
Soft, like answering, it's great.
Right.
Is really weird, right? So then you say if the market's soft, you say there's a lot of inventory, buyer opportunity. Are you buying or selling in your price range? So there's always information to give in the data.
Right. And even within that data, I know one thing that I always liked about your guys' reports is that you have this breakdown of what we call quartiles. So it's like these slivers or a tranche of the market, right? And so you have kind of the top end, the middle, the bottom quarter, and then the bottom. And it's interesting to see that disparity between all of those, basically. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we look at every market in those price range quartiles. And so what happens is it's very easy. Now, 10 years ago, nobody had this data, but now it's easy to go get like, here's median price for Virginia Beach.
Right.
But what's much more nuanced is the low end of the market may be behaving very differently from the high end.
Right.
And so you get realtors get in a situation with clients where they go, oh yeah, I know that stuff is moving super fast, so we're going to overprice my house.
Okay.
And if you have the data and you can show in the quartiles, you go, oh, by the way, in your price range, days on market's 100 days. In if it's just below days on market's 35.
Right.
Like using those quartiles, those price range segments is a really powerful way to communicate with a client.
And I'm sure that's like, it sounds to me like that's a great way too to combat like the Zestimate or something from Zillow or any of those kind of things even, or some of the other automated stuff where people are saying like, they're hearing the overall news saying, hey, the market is great and it's rapidly accelerating. And so they look at their $1 million property and they go, okay, well, my stuff is going to move very quickly. And then you could use that nuance data to really set expectations and kind of lower that expectation, lower basically the prices so that way you can create a great experience.
Yeah, and it may be, it's in whatever opinion that they're coming to you with, like, hey, Zillow says my house is worth this.
Right.
Or whatever their preconceived notion is. You may, that's your opportunity to say, here's what we know about the market. And it's also an opportunity for lead engagement. So somebody says that to you,
right?
You go, great, man. I do this real estate report every week. Let me put it in your inbox right now.
Right.
So then you get it's actually a lead conversion technique. It's super powerful because they're interested and you know they care about the direction and the dynamics of the market. You go, let me give you all the context.
Right.
So it's actually a lead conversion. The other thing that becomes interesting about market data in that is that market data is always fresh.
Right.
There's new information, there's new signal every week. If you get
Mike.
How much is my house worth? Right? That's a one-time lead, right?
Right.
Here's the thing for how much your house is worth. Are you buying or selling? Oh, I'm just, whatever. I just wanted to know.
Right.
Market data is the perfect nurture, the long-term nurture for those kind of leads.
Right.
So now you've told them how much his house is worth. What happens is, okay, each week inventory is getting tighter and tighter and tighter.
Right.
Keep your eye on the market, understand the dynamics around what's going on. This is not just about your property. This is about the whole environment. So it becomes a great transition into a long-term nurture thing.
Right. So for all those agents that have bought, leads or have generated leads and things like that, where, one of the things that we always hear, through CallAction is that they'll say like, I'm having a hard time really staying top of mind for a really long term, basically. And so, what kind of information can I send, whether, it's an email campaign or something like that. And in all actuality, what you're doing is you're taking this market data, creating fresh data that's always basically dynamically changing, and then being able to fully automate that entire follow-up process by just dropping them into an email, and that report just goes out on a regular basis.
That's exactly right. So, you have a lead that comes in from whatever source.
Right.
And that person needs 5-7 touches before they're even willing to talk to you.
Right.
Right. So, market data is a magically powerful way to do that, right? The email campaign, the way you phrase it, and the way we do it in our system is we like to start with 4 different campaigns, because you might have active buyers and active sellers. You have brand new contacts, but you have long-term contacts.
Right.
So in long-term contacts, maybe you send it once a month or once a quarter. And brand new contacts, you're like, hey, we haven't had a chance to talk yet. I like to keep my clients always informed. Here's your market report. By the way, search any other parts of town, send it to your friend. Like, it's all no obligation.
Right.
So you send it to them. You get market data gets super high open rates, 30-40% open rates on those emails.
Wow.
Yeah, and it gets big share rates because somebody goes, oh, I was just talking with my cousin. My realtor sends me this report, right? So you get the share rate. So there's this whole kind of virality about it. It's not an aggressive thing. It's not a like, oh, you must search. You're searching for a specific property. So like, it allows you to work all of these environments where these people have come in, or if they come in, you have a call action sign writer, right? Tell me about this house. Here's about this house, and then, oh, by the way, I like my clients to stay informed.
Yeah.
Right? So then you do the long-term nurture on those.
Well, I think it's great because like one of the things that's really difficult, in the business is like, how do I stay top of mind even with all of my past clients? And this seems like a really easy way to kind of just drop that in there, send it to them, once a month or once per quarter or something like that. And, hey, here's a little snapshot of what's happening in your local market. It's going to get a really high rate because it's coming from you. You have some images and it keeps you top of mind. And that seems way better than sending out an email that says, hey, don't forget to roll back your clocks this Sunday.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. A bunch of ways to do that. And it's super simple. It's, when it lands in their inbox, it's always fresh with the latest.
Right.
You can then, what we like to do is we show everybody who opened it this week. You go, wow, this guy opened it 10 times this week.
Right.
I haven't talked to him in 2 years. Time to pick up the phone.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're basically surfacing by watching who's opening those reports. You're able to kind of go in and say like, hey, this person probably has some kind of interest at that moment in time because they're opening the reports on a real regular basis. And, for those of you that are kind of watching this stuff, to put it into context, this is the, kind of what Boomtown does and some of these really expensive platforms that cost, $1,500. They're doing this stuff off of search information. But with this, it's a much more innocuous because it's, an easy deliverable that pushes into basically their inbox, and then you can start watching that activity. But because every time they access that report, you guys are tracking that. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So we send it. So you have your reports, and I can show examples of that if we want to in a minute. But you have your report, and when people land on that page, and when they search, and when they forward it to their friends, and if they forward it to the friend, that lead gets saved. Like there's all of that kind of richness that's in the system. A lot of our folks work, right alongside the big expensive platforms.
Right.
The market data is, it's one of those elements. There's like we always say, there's only 3 questions for the consumer. How much is my house worth? What's for sale? And how's the market? And so a lot of people are running, the how much is my house worth lead conversion process.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of people have their IDX search on the website, right? But if those clients are walking around with a few apps on their phone, they already know what's for sale, right? They already know how much your house is worth. So being in front of them with how's the market is maybe the last best way to stay in touch with these folks over time.
Yeah, because it helps them kind of start to understand and comprehend a little bit as they start seeing maybe using that app, more properties for sale or less properties for sale, or what seems to be a little bit longer time on market, or, the little sign writers that say, hey, price reduction or something like that, where they start becoming hyper aware of that localized area. And so with your reports, you're basically giving them that zip code. Is it zip code level or city level, or where?
Yeah,
how myopic is it?
Zip code or city, and then inside that you get, the price range quartiles, and you get condos are different from single family, so you can really tailor the data for people.
So this, part of when we wanted to do this webinar was this idea of like, how do we nurture all of those? And I think that we've kind of addressed this, but this is also a huge opportunity for people to actually generate brand new leads, because the conversations to start bringing people in who might be at that kind of top of the funnel and wondering basically, hey, you know, I've been searching for a little while. I haven't reached out specifically to an agent, but I'm seeing some information. And so all of these agents are pushing out, you know, whatever their marketing is. But if you're coming out and kind of making yourself the digital mayor, as Gary Vaynerchuk basically so eloquently put one day, and you also address this idea of like, here's market reports, and maybe do, you know, stuff by making that available on social media or via Twitter or something like that. It sounds like a great opportunity for you to be able to generate new leads at a lower cost using something that is not as trite as like, what's my home worth, and someone filling out a form where, you know, they're going to know they're about to get captured and probably dripped on and whatever other kind of information, or worse yet, maybe just redirected to like a Zillow's estimate or something to that effect. So,
yeah, you know, what happens is, so we teach people to, you know, you obviously, people know that they want to create content in social media. You want to have good Facebook content. Right. But that means you got to write some good content. You got to go fill out find the data and do all those things. And one of the things that we've done with the Altos product most recently is, you know, one click to create your Facebook post. Okay. And now you say, hey, the latest data for Whittier, California is up. Right. And by the way, search your part of town. Yeah. The destination is always there, always live with the latest data, so that they can go, like literally you can go Monday morning and go click, and now I've got some content.
So if I understand this right, you can push the data out as like, here's an opportunity for you to learn about your local market and broadcast that out to the general public as a, you know, either through your service or to everyone. But then also, like as an individual agent, if you want to try and stay top of mind, like, you know, I know that one of our users, Don Mari, I've seen him basically do a little video, just a little Facebook Live video of himself talking and almost like summarizing the report and then showing the graph and saying like, hey, by the way, if you're interested in maybe signing up for something like that, like just hit the link below. And that seems like a really powerful way to kind of get that information out there and start getting people to basically opt into that report. Yep. It does, and it would seem to make you seem like a professional, like raising the bar a little bit in terms of like your conversations that you're having with consumers, because you're not just saying like, here's a new listing or my just sold. It's not like self-serving. You're really trying to educate about the market. It's coming from a place of giving, which is a very powerful positioning statement rather than saying like, come see my stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, so absolutely right. That like great ways to do that. One thing, a fun technique we teach clients at, for example, the open house or as you're door knocking, like I think on the Lab Coat Agents group this morning, Nick Baldwin posted about taking his Halloween stuff to his farm, right? Right. You print and bring one report with you, one piece of paper, and just sharing it while you're talking to people. You're at the open house. They look at it and they go, "Oh, this is awesome. Can I take it?" And you say, "No, but I'll put it in your inbox before you even walk out the door." Right. Let me just put it there. And so, because you take one piece of paper with you and they look at it and they're like, "Oh, look, this is my price range segment of the market." Right. Like they can see it and feel it. You go, happy to share. I only printed one. So it becomes a really great way. You get to be the immediate follow-up guy. You get to be the expert. You get, you know, like it's an excellent way to engage.
So on that engagement, I love this open house idea because, you know, you can even kind of blow it up a little bit and highlight that report as like, here's what's happening in the local area and have that as the initial talking point. Yeah. And really trying to approach people. It's also a nice way, a benefit of giving something if they register to enter into the open house. But, you know, we have obviously built out a little integration. So kind of an interesting way is that they could text to get that report you know, by just basically texting their email, or basically you can have them text a code and send back basically the link to your micro landing page that you guys offer, or that is personally branded, right? They're all personally branded on your guys'?
Yeah, all the reports, that's your report. Yeah, it's super fun. So, you know, the great CallAction value is the immediacy of that response, right? Text me something. You don't have to go fill out an email, but text me something. And then we have it now set so that CallAction triggers in Altos. Right. Altos, it hands the report off. You can immediately reply in CallAction, and also put them automatically on your nurture. On your nurture drip. Yep. Right. So now you don't have to worry about following up next week. You can look and go, oh, I see he's looked at the report 4 times this week. Right. You know, so you have that automatic thing. So that immediate response to lead nurture transition is where so many things fail these days. We've got these systems generating leads, and so but we know that leads take time. You need to get those people who say, oh, I've been reading your report for 2 years. Right. Now it's time for me to list my house. Right. And I think you have a customer like that, Mark from Climb, right? The founder of Climb Real Estate, or one of the co-founders from Climb Real Estate. He's been one of your customers for how long now? Like 10 years? I think he was one of 10 years. Yeah. Wow. When Mark was starting Climb, he got the concept immediately because he was investing in all of those systems, and for him, he could build market data from his local MLS, but he was like, I'll take that, you know? And so it was a very specific way to use it. Yeah, I know that I've seen Leia Brown speak too, like at Inman, and she's just this firecracker, right? And I think last year she might have even emceed it. And I know that she loves your guys' stuff, and she has a really interesting way of using it, not for basically buyers, but for sellers, right? Yeah, sellers, and also take it all the way out of, this is not, you know, lead gen, and it's not lead follow-up, it's not automated system. This is personal in the listing presentation, and it's super powerful. So what Lee does is she prints a market report, puts it right on top of her listing presentation, and she goes in for the listing meeting, and she says, first thing she says is, are you a big geek or a little geek? Right. If you're a big geek, I got all kinds of data. I'm going to send you this data. Right. If you're just a little geek, as she says, is while we have your house listed, I'm going to send you this market report every Monday. I want you to look at one number. And Altos, the number is called the Market Action Index. As that number climbs, that means demand is climbing, inventory is tighter. It's like a thermometer. Okay. If that number falls while we have your house listed, that means there's fewer buyers. There's more listing competition. Okay. And therefore, it's the market telling us a signal about where we have your house priced, and we may have to pay attention. So I'm going to put it in your inbox. You don't have to worry about bouncy graphs and interpreting trends. I want you to look at one number. Okay. And so now now Lee has each of her active listings on a weekly drip. Okay. They watch it if the house has been on the market. The client picks up the phone and goes, Lee, I've been looking at this report every week. Right. We need to get in front of this. Right. Right. So it's the market giving us a signal. It's the client initiating this. It's, oh, by the way, Lee is the rock star that has this ready for me. Right. All of those things. Super fun. So it's an interesting way, because what it does, it makes the consumer, the seller, participate in the process, because now they're becoming hyper aware and starting to understand the market too. So they may proactively even approach you and be like, hey, we need, to maybe discuss having a price reduction. What do you think we need to work? Because I saw this little. You told me to watch this, and it's told me to watch it. Exactly. Yeah. So you're having them kind of participate. And then because it's all fully automated in terms of just this email, it's a great way to kind of nurture those and pacify those sellers while they're waiting for their property or action to basically kind of take place. So it cuts down probably the amount of inbound phone calls and everything else that are coming to you, and is just kind of nurturing that side of it, which is definitely an interesting way to do it. So
Huh. Do you have one of these reports? I know that we're kind of talking about it. Could you share one real quick on the screen?
I was talking with Barry Jenkins this morning in Virginia Beach. I'm going to share one of his reports.
Okay.
Here, like this.
Now I'm going to tell everyone, if anyone's got any kind of questions or anything, please feel free to pop them into the chat. You know, whatever you would like for us to try and cover, just let us know, basically, and drop it there into that chat as we kind of cover some of this stuff.
How's my screen share? Is that,
Yep.
Can you see Barry's report?
Yep, we're all good. So yeah, for sure.
So this is an Altos report.
Okay.
Comes out every week. Barry works Virginia Beach. A couple of things that we like to note. So this is the market action index.
Okay.
That we were just talking about. It's in Virginia Beach as a whole. It's pretty balanced, but all Altos reports are readable. So we look at several thousand different variables and use like an AI system to write the text for you. So you can see in the past few weeks, the market is at a relative stasis point in terms of sales to inventory. Okay. However, inventory is sufficiently low to keep us in the seller's zone. Mm. If the market heats up, prices are likely to resume an upward climb.
Okay.
Right? So Barry doesn't have to think about this. Barry doesn't have to say, oh, this is slightly different in this part of town, like the system does that for him. You've got all the real-time data. We've got the price charts and the different data charts here. We could look at days on market if we wanted to. You know, you can see right now that days on market is much lower than it has been the last few years.
Okay.
Tick up as a fall. We can go down below into the market segments. So in Virginia Beach, the properties that are just under $1 million, 200 days on market.
Wow.
If they're $250,000, 76 days on market.
Right.
Like we know exactly where the action is. And when somebody comes in here and goes, hey, I'm going to lowball this. And Barry says, yeah, but you are, you know, in the hottest part of the market. If you want to get the house, we got to take action. Right. So, and we can do things like we can look at the market segments based on the price range. And really the high end of the market here, this blue line, much longer than the rest of the market. The rest of it is much more tighter.
Right.
So you can see all of those kind of things in the data. You know, we've been talking about things like using the data as lead conversion. So there's like one of the things we do is build the conversion into the data. So you can hit the subscribe button.
Right.
Like I want this. You can hit click to call. So Barry's got this set up with his CallAction phone number.
Right.
So if somebody's looking at it on their phone, they go bloop, click to call.
Right.
The share button is super powerful too because they email it to their friends all the time, and when they do, now that friend is captured for your drip as well.
Someone asked if we could zoom in a little bit on that graph. Basically, is there a chance that we could do that?
Let's see if I can zoom in. I don't know how to do the controls. You want to do like this?
Yeah. If you looks like we're a little bit. Somehow you were zooming in the other way. There we go. I think.
Is that better? Is that I made my screen smaller, so maybe.
Oh, actually, I think go the other way, and then we'll zoom it back out here. But what I was going to kind of say, yeah, maybe a little bit more even. Yeah, I guess it's going to be kind of hard for us to be able to do that. But here's kind of some thoughts that I'm having just looking at this because I'm a marketing guy at heart. You know, I can see easily being able to take this one report that has what 10, 15, 20 different data points in here. Take it.
We can also zoom in this way. I can zoom in for, you know, a shorter for just looking at this year, for example.
Okay, there we go. Okay, 1 year instead of 3 years. Oh, that's exactly what we was talking about. I was looking at a tighter, compressed time span. All right.
Yeah, so we just click on it. We can just click on it and, you know. Whoop.
Okay. All right. So, you know, what I was going to say, you know, some of the interesting ideas that I'm kind of brainstorming as I look at this is this idea that how simple is it now for you to take a screenshot of one of these reports and every day go onto your Facebook business page and do one little snippet in terms of like, hey, look at this interesting trend that is basically happening. Yeah. And what you want to do is basically use the data to maybe create a question in the consumer's mind so that way they reach out to you to start this engagement with a conversation. And having that data available like that and taking just snapshots of it, not even giving them the full report, but just taking a screenshot, posting it on your Facebook seems like a really powerful way that you could do that. Or like even with our new drip campaigns, we could take the drip campaigns, take one screenshot and make that an automatic image that's texted back to the person.
So, yeah, so the cool thing is you don't even have to take a screenshot.
Okay.
This is in the back end of the Altos system. You can hit the Facebook share button, and I'm on Barry's. I just logged in and had Barry's account.
Okay.
I instantly have the screenshot made for you.
Right.
And it fills in to Facebook when it logs into Facebook. So you don't even have to create the screenshot. That's a one click to share.
Right. Okay.
And you can do that for any of your reports, right?
Right.
Your team. So if you work at a real estate team, your team can do this.
Okay.
They can hit the share button from the report itself and post it, and we make the image look cool. You don't even have to take a screenshot. You just hit that one button. Right. Right. Likewise, we're doing ads, so you can instantly hit promote, and we will create a paid ad, a lead ad for you that you can then that writes the text for you because it looks at how the market is and it posts it. So like one click and you can go boom, run Facebook campaigns. It converts on the market data. It puts the leads into your account. It puts them on the nurture follow-up, and you don't have to worry about building websites and writing copy and doing all these things.
Well, one of the interesting thing is we worked on this kind of bi-directional integration. So what ends up happening, is let's say someone is sending to CallAction their Zillow lead for us to follow up with an instant text engagement. We're parsing out the information from Zillow. And then what we could do is if you tie in the Altos integration, we're going to opt that person and push them into your report all automatically. So any lead source that flows into CallAction, we can push into Altos. So we can act as that bridge in between the two to kind of connect it, or vice versa. Like we have lots of users that are using, Follow Up Boss or something like that, and they're sending those new lead notifications that they get into CallAction, and then we can again push that back into your stuff. I think we made a little graphic on this, right?
Yeah, let me show you that. I will.
And also, everyone, we do have, if you go, if you're a member of CallAction.co, you can go to our help section, which is help.callaction.co. Just type in Altos, and you'll see all of the instructions on how easy it is to kind of put this together, basically.
Yeah, so how does that look? Is that visible on our shared screen?
Yeah, it's definitely visible. Can you maybe just do like a full screen on just the slide, like just hit play or something? Or let's see.
Let's see.
I'm not too much of a PowerPoint person here.
How's that look?
Now we're gone. Actually, we have to, I think we go back the other way here. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
There we go. All right.
Is that visible?
Yep, totally visible. Okay.
What we did is we were talking, it's sometimes hard to figure out how does a phone call through CallAction trigger a market report? Like, what does that even mean, really? And so I drew this up even for my own understanding. Right. It's, leads come in on both sides, on any side, right? And it may be a phone inquiry, or on the Altos side, it may be from your Facebook ad. Okay. And you want to do things with those. So there's an immediate side of the response. We know that immediate, the first person who answers that lead gets the deal. We also know that it can take 5, 7, 10 touches before people convert. So we need the immediate response and the nurture. And it's why I think we work well together. So on the left side, if they come in a text for info through CallAction, they get their immediate response through CallAction. But we then go, here's the email address and the zip code of the report that they just asked for. And now, boom, they're on a long-term drip.
Right.
Likewise, they could come in from, referral share. So you have somebody on that report and they say, email this to my cousin.
Right.
Now that's a new lead in Altos. Oh, by the way, we've got a phone number, so let's text a response. Right. So they go both directions.
Yeah. And on that report, like you said, there's a call button, in the sense, 55, 60% of all leads of all email is read on a mobile phone. If that person reads that report and all of a sudden is like, oh, well, this looks pretty interesting, or I have a question about it, they could click on that button, and then all of a sudden that will be captured through CallAction, and then we can insert into your CRM. So this is kind of that bi-directional thing that we're talking about in those arrows that you're kind of seeing in there. We have one of our guys that's listing here, Mr. Patel, and he asked, how many leads can be added if you happen to have an account into this? Is this something where, like, if I bought 5,000 Zillow leads, can I dump them all into here?
Yes. So we don't limit based on number of leads or number of contacts.
Okay.
Our scale is based on basically the markets that you work. So if you work, a bigger area, you pay a little more. If you work, you have a tight little farm, then you pay a little less. So yeah, if you have 5,000 Zillow leads, absolutely they should be in your nurture. And because there's no way you reached all 5,000 of them on the phone, right? And there's no way that all 5,000 of those are ready to go right now. So those are perfect. Hey, we originally contacted you, or you connected through Zillow. I like to keep my clients informed. So you have a nurture campaign for those folks.
Yeah. Coming from that place of basically giving again and providing value initially, and that value creates basically questions in their mind, and then they're going to reach out to you because they're going to need help interpreting that information that is basically happening there. So
exactly. Yeah. Barry, as I was talking with Barry Jenkins this morning, mentioning that we were going to look at his report, he said, I like to always be coming from a place of contribution. I'm always giving them real value. And so the market data for him is a super elegant way to be always coming from a place of real value.
Right. Real value, and appearing really professional at the same time, basically, because, that idea of the level of conversations that are going to be created from interpreting data is significantly different than, putting out, 5 best tips in improving your house or something like that. Basically, this, is a much more, a higher level kind of conversation, which will probably even attract basically those kind of customers as well, I'm assuming. I know that, as we work with a bunch of teams, and I have some teams that have, databases of 40, 50, 60,000 leads in there. So if they dumped all of this stuff into your system and started sending out the emails, I mean, what do you think is kind of a realistic engagement rate? What do you see, like, kind of an email open rate on these reports, basically?
So when you create a campaign in Altos, you're creating an email campaign, and we like to we give you 4 when you start, so that you don't even have to think about it. But you create a special one for, let's say I've got my long-term Zillow leads. So you can, we typically measure around 37% open rate. That's sort of our big scale. And if they are, if they're fresher, they'll be 40, 50%. And some of the long-term ones, especially if they were like a Zillow lead that you never talked to 2 years ago, it'll be a little bit lower than that. But it's still a fabulous way to keep them warm.
Well, let's just say even if it was, 10% of the market, I'm kind of thinking of some complete workflows here. So let's say I take 5,000 leads that we had basically, and as Mark basically kind of indicates, some PPC leads. We could take those PPC pay-per-click old generated leads that you've already invested 10, 20, 30 bucks basically that have been invested, to generate that lead. You could upload them into Altos, do that initial drop. So let's say you had 5,000, even if you got a 10% open rate, now all of a sudden you kind of identified 500 people that might be kind of a little bit in the market still, right? And this, you could can we export that data back out?
What do you mean export the data?
can we see like a report of the people who opened the report?
Oh yeah, so you get that in your Altos report, and you can download your contacts and things like that. Absolutely, in your Altos, in the Altos system, you can sort your contacts by open rates, right? You can, you can sort them by campaign. So these are in my old campaign, and these are my 3,000 old pay-per-click leads that I've been sending to. Who's been opening it?
Yeah, you could take all of the ones that open that, and I'm just going to kind of throw out this marketing tip here because, again, I like to come from contribution. I'm a marketer, but I would take that Excel spreadsheet of all of those emails of everyone that actually opened the report, run it into Facebook as a custom audience, and then you could retarget at a real high level those people who are so close or much closer. So then you start pushing your IDX website to that person kind of in real time. Yeah. So I think that that's a really powerful way when you start to look at these systems. What we find, it's important to look at how you can use it at a really, really high level. And so it's one thing to just say like, okay, I'm going to take 5,000 and drip it on them and just kind of stay top of mind and wait for basically that, lay down deal to come through, a phone call or whatever, which is inevitably is going to happen. But if you could take that data and start refining that funnel based on those open rates or that engagement that you're seeing through the email data, that starts to become really, really powerful at that moment in time. So really good stuff. Let's see here. Looks like Aaron had a question. Is there a way to provide a link to a market report via text or a place on Facebook for a local page as a market report or as a market update?
Yeah.
I'll let you take that.
Yeah, and I actually typed it in for you. So, the cool things about those reports are that report is, that link that I just shared is always going to be Barry's Virginia Beach report. So you can drop it in, and anytime you drop that link in, you go, hey, here's the latest data's up. Because it's always going to have the latest data. And so that's always going to be Barry's local one. And you can use that in Facebook. You can put that in your email signature. You can drop it into another ad campaign. Like it's always live, and you never have to worry about it.
Yeah, we even experimented with a couple of our power users, this idea basically of using a sign writer, because if someone's looking at the property, they might be kind of interested in the property, but a nice call to action would be like, how's this local real estate market doing? Text report to a call action phone number. We can capture the lead at that moment in time. We send back basically the text message with the link to that report, and then that person could do the little search and then personalize that report to either the local area that they're currently looking in, which is the area of that listing, or I think they can also in that search box search for reports anywhere else, right?
Sure. Yes. So and that's actually really cool. That's one of the great calls to action. Is like, hey, here's the Virginia Beach report, but search anywhere.
Yeah, can we see that report again?
Yeah.
Can you share that on the screen real quick? Because I think this is really important for everyone to be aware of, basically, because it's this idea that data is different everywhere that you're looking at. And so once they get this report, that little search box there at the top, search anywhere, gives them the ability to find a different area. Okay. And what happens, do you get the history of the people that are searching in these different reports or these different areas?
Yeah, so what they'll do is, let's see, I think I spelled Fredericksburg, right? So here's Fredericksburg, Virginia. Okay. I can hit view report, and what happens is, because I'm a new visitor onto Barry's report, I'll convert as a lead.
As a lead at that moment in time.
Yeah, and I will show up as, I will show up in Barry's report. Altos as having registered for Fredericksburg.
Right.
I will. He'll see me in there as Fredericksburg, and I'm already put on on the drip. I'm automatically ready to go, and I can
added
see
into
the
that
data.
Report.
So,
and I was going to say, I saw that on that form, you actually have a phone number field on there. Yes. And just so that everyone understands, part of our integration is that and this bi-directional thing, we can take that email alert that Altos is going to send to you for this new customer that is basically registered, send that into your CallAction account. And if there is a phone number in there, what CallAction can do is we're going to send them a text message that says, hey, it's Barry. I just want to say thanks for checking in on my report, requesting a report. By the way, if you got any questions, feel free to go ahead and text me. This is great. Aaron is saying that your reports look great on mobile, so that's always a good thing.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. It's an important part of what we do, right? Everybody's on mobile, so it's going to look good anywhere. They're looking on Facebook and they click through from Facebook. Okay. You want it to look good. You want the lead conversions to work still, like all of those pieces.
For sure. And out of those reports, maybe you have some insights in there. You talked about using that market action index as a great way to keep the sellers engaged, right? In other words, like on your existing listings, can you maybe tell us like how would you use that with the buyer side? Like if I'm sending out an email or if I take a snapshot of this, how do I basically interpret that to give them a really easy way to be like, hey, take a look at this?
So what I typically recommend, what we do with our out of the box campaigns for active buyers, is we set it to go in their inbox on Friday or to Saturday morning. So now they get it and say, hey, this is what the market looks like this week. And if you're looking in Fredericksburg, you might say, keep an eye at your price range. So if your price range is $350 in Fredericksburg, you know that do I need to make an offer quickly? Well, if I'm looking at $250 in Fredericksburg, I know that 52 days. Like I know that if I'm buying, I've got some competition. If I'm more expensive, now I've got a little more. I've got a little more opportunity. I know buying. I remember buying in Silicon Valley. There, and it's like, the question I have is like, is there a lot? Do I have to act quickly? Can I lowball? Like these are all how's the market questions that you can't answer with a here's a lead price conversion form, right?
Right. And it's one thing to basically tell them like, hey, the market is really hot. Yes, we need to write an offer today. And no, you can't lowball because it's really hot. But it's different that you could go into this report, pull up that report right on your phone as you're sitting with them, show them the data directly right then and there, interpret that data with them, and then help them basically write that offer at that moment in time. So that I think is really, really powerful. This, this concept of visualizing what it ends up happening, because most people conceptually, they need to see it in order to comprehend it. And I think graphs and information that you have like this make it really simple for people to comprehend what's happening in that market. And to basically, it creates a sense of urgency. It's like the same reason why people like, looking at their stock portfolios. They like seeing that little up and down and things like that. And this is just a way to kind of visualize that for real estate for them.
Exactly. In that buyer conversation, while we were talking, I was just, as you were saying, like you're there face to face with them. You look at the report on your phone. You select price per square foot. You're looking at the market segments. We can look at the price per square foot at the high end in Fredericksburg versus the low end. And what's interesting is even if the high end is easing off a little bit, the low end of the market is super strong, right? So
it's actually picking up.
It's actually picking up, and it's getting tighter with this next segment up higher. So like that is telling you a ton about where the demand is and what we need to expect in terms of a good deal. Like all of those things, we can look at it right here.
So that's kind of like that millennial first-time homebuyer market is pushing or driving that bottom end. But now you're seeing like what I would interpret here, if I'm just looking at this is, depending on the demographic of my customer, I'd be, if they're a young millennial, I'd say like, hey, listen, you're facing a lot of competition because you're at the bottom of the market. All these people are coming in, and this is why you're seeing that increased price pressure. But, we have all of these baby boomers who own the most expensive homes. And now that market, you can see here that it's kind of softening. So that's not having a direct impact on your price per square foot in your price segment or in your tranche, basically, of that market.
Yeah, look at this too. So this is the market action index. So it's seller's market, pretty balanced in Fredericksburg overall. But if we look at the price segments, the red line is the cheapest part of Fredericksburg, 53, 57, versus buyer opportunity under 30 in the most expensive. Right. So this says low end of the market, super hot.
Right.
The top end of the market, you know, a couple summers ago was much hotter. Now it's pretty stable, right around 30, which is our balanced market. A little bit under, and it's the fall too, so things soften in the fall a little bit.
Right.
But the low end of the cheapest part of the market is smoking.
Right.
Things moving fast, lots of turnover, lots of demand, and not that much inventory.
And what's interesting with that report, because it's updated weekly, is that if you have a listing, it is during, you know, you can interpret that seasonality that's kind of coming with that market too, because you could tell them, hey, listen, like, let's push this report back out a little bit longer and look at, let's say, the last 3 years, and you could see that there's a seasonality dip right now. So it's not that, you know, the market is softening or anything like that. It's just simply because it's a seasonal issue. And if you want to basically make your property kind of float at the top, if you're at the top of that seasonal decrease versus the bottom, you know, it allows you to kind of have these intelligent conversations of what you should be doing, what pricing and things like that. So very, very powerful stuff. So it looks like we have already gone 52 minutes on this, and we want to try and wrap up here pretty soon. So Diane has asked a question here, you know, how many users do you have regionally versus, you know, Southern California versus East Coast and stuff like that? You know, I don't know.
We cover the whole country. Basically 100% of the country. We have thousands of realtors use our stuff every day. You know, we've been talking about different examples, Barry's in Virginia Beach, you know, but we have a lot of California stuff
in Silicon Valley.
Yeah. Some realtors might see our data from their title company or their escrow companies, things like that. But like thousands, tens of thousands, some big brokers, et cetera. Sometimes the broker likes to get it and push it down. We happen to be in California, so I have a lot of friends in California who use it too.
Right. Okay. So aside from that, we'll go ahead and get this wrapped up. So, you know, just kind of in closing, for those of you that are CallAction users or Altos users, either one of the two products, be sure to basically visit. I know that Mike's got some help docs. We have help docs at help.callaction.co. You can just type in Altos Research, and then you'll see how you could do some of that stuff. You can also type in there like Facebook custom audience and that concept that I talked about, taking the people who are reading the report and rebuilding new reports or doing your own personalized targeting. You can get that from there. And then, Mike, I think you were going to maybe share some options here for basically everyone in terms of a little deal or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, we just wanted to make sure that, let me do a share. We just want to make sure that anybody who's on the call, if you want to get a hold of us, you can email me. You can call us at our CallAction phone number. If like people are ready to go and want to dive in, we have I created a coupon. We created a coupon code GROW30. You get $30 off. So keep that one. Anybody who's on this call can use that number, that coupon code, and happy to follow up with more demos and answer bunches of questions and things like that.
So if they go to altos.re, that's basically your website, and there basically they can request a demo with you or your sales team, basically walk them through the reports, give them some other use cases and things like that.
Absolutely.
And then how quickly, like just kind of in closing, I've got 5,000 leads. How quickly can I basically contact you and say, here's all my data, I want to get going? How long does that process take?
5 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
So
you log in.
How do they?
You pick the reports. You do your customization, so that's your logo and you brand the reports. The upload happens, and you can literally use one of the drip campaigns we've already got created, or you can create another one and do your own. But you can do it in as little as 5 minutes.
And how do they have to get data into your report? Is that a CSV file or something?
If you have 5,000 contacts, it's a CSV file that you upload, and it's name and their email address and the zip code they want. And
so anyone that has basically a CRM, look at your CRM docs. There's always a way to export your data as a CSV file.
And we do that all the time for clients. So easy. Hey, I just signed up. I want to get my 5,000 contacts in.
Okay, great. And then, conversely, basically, if you're using CallAction and you've got, 5,000 or 10,000 leads in CallAction, you can also download that. We have the ability to download the data, upload it into CSV to kind of get that process basically started. And then we can connect those two reports together. With CallAction, we offer basically a 14-day free trial on all of our accounts, basically. And so if you sign up for an account on CallAction, you can immediately start trying to experiment with these, text for info kind of campaigns, or basically running your Altos report, putting a click to call button on there, so that way you can identify that most valuable customer, that person who is reading the report and calling you at that moment in time. That's as hot as that lead is going to get, right? Because they're excited about the market. They have a question about the market. And that's either going to be for buying or for selling. And so I think that that's a massive opportunity for everyone that's there. So I think there was one question from Amy in there. Do you want to grab that real quick? If you already have Altos reports.
Oh, yes. If you're already an Altos client and you've been one for a while and then you want to move to the new one, just send a quick email to support@altosresearch.com. Jessica, we have a little migrate to the brand new version, and let's get you going on it. Absolutely, because there's so much more to do.
Right. Well, thanks for joining us, Amy. We're glad to see that you're an Altos user, and I'm sure you're probably happy with the reports if you're asking us how to upgrade versus some of the other types of information that might be out there. All right, everyone. So again, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Mike, how do they find you online or on Twitter or Facebook pages and things like that? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
So email Mike at Altos Research. You can friend me on Facebook, Mike Simonsen. You can we've got the Altos page. Any of those elements.
Great. And for those of you that might be at Inman, I'm sure Mike and I will be hanging out together at Inman in New York. So feel free to always pop up and talk to us, and we'll do whatever we can to basically help you guys out and think of some really creative ways in terms of making this happen. So again, I just want to say thank you to everyone. We really appreciate the opportunity. Hopefully you got some takeaways here in terms of some different ways to use that market data, how to interpret it, maybe some ways to kind of retarget, to build basically conversations and create engagement. Because at the end of the day, what we need to do is we need to get customers to basically reach out and have conversations with us, because it's when conversations happen is when basically business happens. So this market data is the great way to basically make that happen, because it is going to be the most common question that you're going to get, right? Is how's the market? So again, really appreciate it. Thank you very much, everyone. And everyone have a great day.
Hey, thanks, Jesse.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Bye. We'll see you.